I want to ask you one more question. I think it probably is another area that a lot of people listening to this, they're probably a little bit insecure about. People talk about GPUs. What would the layman need to know about that world to sound educated on this stuff?
To solve those complicated math equations, you need pretty powerful computers because it takes a lot of processing power and energy to do so. Like if on your computer today, you open up 40 different applications at the same time, it's probably going to slow down because you think about how much computing resources each of those applications takes, right? And so when you're solving these really complicated math problems, you need a powerful computer because it takes a lot of energy for that computer to do that thing. And so when you look at training models or refining models, and to your point, this 86,000 year data set now that you've trained ChatGPT on, creating all of those embeddings and creating all of those relationships and creating this database of information, this giant vector database of words and relationships, all of that takes a lot of computing power. You need to have giant warehouses full of servers and computers in order to do this. If you look at the average enterprise company, a lot of them have giant warehouses full of server, like Amazon, to process all of your orders and your order history or whatever. They have a bunch of computer towers that are running at all times to manage all of that information.
Right.
And if you think about training LLMs, that scale is even larger to a degree that's hard to imagine because of the amount of data that's going into it and the amount of work that needs to be done to create these relationships. So these companies need to buy a bunch of computers. If anybody's ever played video games, you wanted to get a really good graphics card so that you could render all the images in the games you're playing. So those graphics cards are GPUs, and that's one of the primary pieces of computer hardware that's used in these processes to actually train these models. That's why companies are investing a ton of money into building a bunch of these computer warehouses. They need to buy a bunch of GPUs that are specifically made to be powerful enough to do all of this really complicated work at a very large scale. And that's why all these companies are buying GPUs. NVIDIA happens to be a company that made one of the leading pieces of hardware for this application. And that's why their company valuation has gone up because it's a finite resource that is needed to create computers powerful enough to do all of this stuff that's happening behind the scenes to actually train ChatGPT or Claude or any of these other models.